Hey everybody, welcome. I'm here today with Joy, a clinician here at Mayfield Counseling Centers. And today we're going to be talking about connecting and supporting the military community.
Welcome to our Monday Minute.
So the topic of connecting and supporting the military community really comes from this background that both of us share. So I'm a military brat, meaning that my dad was a military member, so I was raised in the military community. And Joy, you're the partner of a military member.
Yep.
So why do we think that learning how to connect to this community and learning how we can be supportive to this community is so important?
Yeah, for sure. Well, with being in Colorado Springs, we have so many bases here. So it's a huge part of our population in the Springs area. But it is a different world. It's a different culture. They have their own language.
Yes.
And so real quickly, you can become very isolated in just sticking with your military buds because they get it. But there's so many beautiful, wonderful, cool things that can be found when we can bridge that gap between non-military members and military members. They offer a strength when it comes to resiliency and learning how to deal with stress and transition and changes and things out of your control that us non-military members can learn a lot from in our day-to-day lives, and just learning to kind of roll with the punches like they do. But there's so much that can be found with those connections. I know it can be challenging. Military members may not want to make new friends because they're moving all the time and that doesn't last, or non-military people feel the same way because that friend, if they get close, they're just going to leave. But there's so much that can be experienced in just pursuing those relationships and those connections and learning from each other and kind of just embracing the moment and the season that you have together. It can be really rich, and it lends to being able to manage that stress better because you're in connection.
Yes. And say, growing up as a military brat, it was really, really hard as a young person to make those connections. Because like you said, it's hard to reach across the aisle to know that in the end, you're only going to end up moving away from that person. But the thing that helped manage our stress level, help and give us strength to transition from state to state, was really the connections we made along the way. Getting to embrace other states, other cultures, new churches, new schools, and really get to meet some amazing people that we wouldn't have had the opportunity to meet otherwise.
Sure. Well, I bet if you think of planning vacations, you got all these places you can stay for free or connect with these people again, which that's a gift to be able to look forward to as well.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And I share that with you, being a military wife, there's an aspect of marriage and that intimacy that feels very different when you don't get to see your partner for 11 months and you get 3 hours of talking time a week. You learn to appreciate more the good things and recognize how amazing it is to come back together and find each other again after a lot of stressful situations, and still find that love and that support's still there despite the things that keep trying to pull you apart. In those seasons of deployment, whether you're a spouse, whether your kid's a military member, even just the extended family members that don't get to connect with them, support goes a long way, and support in the way of just calling to check in on them and saying, hey, how are you doing? I'm sure there's a lot of military spouses, they learn to just kind of roll with the punches and do things on their own, and they may not always ask for help. Just be that friend that's that go-getter and says, hey, I'm going to come bring a meal, whether you like it or not, or I'm going to come take the kids for an hour with my kids, whether you like it or not, because you need to go take care of yourself. So things like that are huge for military spouses and families in ways that other military members or non-military members can come around them and support them through that deployment.
I was really young when my father was deployed to the Middle East right after 9/11. And I think as a kid, it feels like you've experienced a loss, like potentially your parent has already passed away, even though they're still alive, because of the distance, because of the potential threat that they could be harmed in these high active zones that are really dangerous. And one of the things that I don't think I saw a lot as a kid that would have been so useful is to have people in our lives that are willing to face the uncomfortable feelings of grief and loss, of fear, of anxiety, and not try to minimize it or try to ignore it, but help us embrace it and experience it in a way that allows us to actually process what we're going through. I think that having the freedom to be able to talk about what we feel and not feel shamed about it is so important. That's the kind of support I think as a kid I really needed and my siblings could have used when my dad was deployed.
Yeah, no, I could definitely agree and resonate with that as well. It's almost like just no one saying anything and just letting you talk about it and then hug you. That hug will go a long way emotionally as well as physically in a moment when you're holding the tension of a lot of different emotions. So yeah, as we've been talking about this, what's amazing with the staff here at Mayfield that I found is how many people actually have some background with military. We've got veterans on staff. We have military spouses, as well as military brats like Sienna and others that can help understand that culture and help with those conversations, whether you want to understand the military culture and community that you are connected with more, or you're in it and you need someone to just be able to identify and relate to you in that way. We have staff here at Mayfield that are there to support you in that.
Yeah, I think it's so important to recognize that whether you are not part of the military community, but wanting to learn how to embrace, connect and support the community, or if you are a member of the military or a family member of a military personnel, that Mayfield Counseling Centers is a great resource for you to come and be able to find people who understand, people who get your community, your life environment, and will be able to provide a safe place for you to come express the emotions that you deal with on a regular basis in an understanding, supportive environment. Well, thank you so much. I hope you have a great rest of your week. I hope you have a relaxing weekend. And I can't wait to see you next week, Monday, for our next Monday Minute.